Hello everyone, welcome to Statecraft IS Academy. As you all know, we have started a new initiative called the Daily Current Affairs Discussion. The PDF of this video is available on the Statecraft Telegram channel, Statecraft website, as well as in the description box of this video. So let's get started with the current affairs. Our first topic of discussion is Seed Mini Kit program. So this has been introduced to basically introduce new varieties of seeds in the farm fields and also to increase the seed replacement rate. So seed replacement rate is actually the measure of how much of the total cropped area was sown with certified seeds, which is good quality, in comparison to the farm saved seeds. So it is this program will increase the seed replacement rate. And next, this mini kits will be provided by the central agencies National Seed Corporation (NAFED), which is National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India, and Gujarat State Seeds Corporation. And this scheme is wholly funded by the Government of India through National Food Security Mission. Next, we'll talk about Satat scheme. So this is to set up compressed biogas production plants. Compressed biogas production plants are also known as CBD, and to make the CBD available in the market and for the use as a green fuel. So this scheme also targets the production of 15 MMT of CBD from 5,000 plants by 2023. And the benefits include it will boost the availability of affordable transport fuel and also ensure the better use of agricultural residue, cattle dung, and municipal solid waste, as these things can be used in the production of CBD. And also it will provide an investment of around 1.7 lakh crores. Also provide additional revenue sources to the farmers, and also 75,000 direct job opportunities and lakhs of indirect jobs. Next, we'll talk about Litoria mira. So Litoria mira, it's a species of frog. You have seen questions, every year at least one question wherein a word like this is given and it is asked whether it is a dinosaurus or a bird or a reptile. So in this case it's a frog, it's a species of frog which lives in the rainforest of New Guinea, and it appears to be made from chocolate. So it is basically a cocoa colored frog. And this Litoria mira has a well-known relative, the common green tree frog of Australia. This tree frog of Australia is called Litoria cerulean. And the reason that the chocolate frog of New Guinea and the Australian green tea frog are similar is that the Australia and New Guinea used to be linked by land for much of the late tertiary period. So actually the land of Australia and New Guinea were together million years ago, and that is the reason these two species are of same kind. Next, we'll talk about Central Vista. So it's a 3-kilometer stretch in the heart of New Delhi. It runs from Rashtrapati Bhavan to India Gate, and in the middle there are large green spaces, significant structures such as Parliament, the Secretariat building, and the National Archives. And actually recently the government is planning to redevelop the Central Vista, and it is also planning to set up a common central secretariat that will be constructed for all the ministries, and which are currently spread over the various buildings across Delhi. So basically there will be one building which will involve people from all the ministries. Next, we'll talk about Horticulture Cluster Development Program. So it has been recently launched by Minister of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare. So first we'll talk about what horticulture is. As I've discussed in my previous video as well, so it is basically the art and practice of gardening and cultivating plants and trees. So this hottest word means gardens. So it is basically planting trees in gardens, planting food or medicinal plants in gardens. So it includes fruits and vegetables, decorative indoor plants, and also medicinal plants. And talking about the scheme, it is a central sector scheme. And next, this scheme has been the implementing agency is the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So the two most important thing about this scheme: first, it is a central sector scheme, and it is being introduced by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. And the aim includes it is actually aiming at growing and developing identified horticulture clusters to make them globally competitive. So these horticulture clusters is a regional geographical concentration of targeted horticulture crops, and the nodal agency include National Horticulture Board. So the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare has identified 53 horticulture clusters, and there of them 12 have been selected for a pilot launch of the program. And these clusters will be implemented through cluster development agencies, and these agencies will be appointed on the recommendation of the respective state or UT government. Next, talking about the objectives of the scheme. So it will address all major issues related to Indian horticulture sector, which includes pre-production issues, production issues, post-harvest management and logistics issues, also marketing and branding issues. It will also leverage geographical specialization and also promote integrated and market-led development of these horticulture clusters. To converge with all other initiatives of the government, such as Agricultural Infrastructure Fund. So these objective points can actually be used in answers related to agriculture and horticulture and related areas. So the objectives of various schemes should be seen from the mains point of view, as these words and the content can be used for your mains answer writing. Next, the program will benefit about 10 lakh farmers, and it is also expected to attract an investment of around 10,000 crores. Next, we'll talk about nano urea liquid. So recently the Indian Farmer Fertilizer Cooperative Limited has introduced the world's first nano urea liquid for farmers across the world. So as the name suggests, it is a nutrient which is in liquid form, and it provides nitrogen to plants. It is also an alternative to the conventional urea, and it is developed to replace the conventional urea. This nano urea liquid can actually curtail the requirement of the conventional urea by at least 50%. Also, India is currently highly dependent on imports for urea. So this step is actually gonna benefit and make India self-sufficient in urea production. This nitrogen urea contains around 40,000 mg per liter of nitrogen in a 500 ml bottle, which is equivalent to the impact of nitrogen nutrient provided by 1 bag of conventional urea. And talking about the comparison between the two, so the conventional urea is effective 30 to 40% in delivering nitrogen, whereas the nano urea liquid is efficient over 80%. Also, recently it has been tested in over 11,000 farmers field, and an average increase of 8% in the yield was witnessed. And this urea has been indigenously developed at Nano Biotechnology Research Center in Gujarat, and it is in line with the Atmanirbhar Bharat and Atmanirbhar Krishi. And as I've said before, it is India is dependent on imports to meet the urea requirements. Talking about the significance of the scheme, it is very effective and efficient for plant nutrition, as it provides nitrogen, which is highly required for plant growth. And it will also, since it will provide nutrition in a better way, it will increase the production, and also there will be improvement in the quality of the product. Also, it will have a huge positive impact on the quality of underground water, also impact on the reduction in global warming. Next, we'll talk about neglected tropical disease. So what happened is recently 30th January is been declared as a World Neglected Tropical Disease Day. So these diseases are a group of infections. So they're most common in the tropical regions of Africa, Asia and America among the marginalized communities. So these diseases are called neglected because the people who are most affected by these diseases are often the poorest population, who are living in remote rural areas or in urban slums or in conflict zones. So these diseases persist under conditions of poverty and are concentrated exclusively in the marginalized population of the developing world. Around more than 70% of the countries and territories that report the presence of these diseases are in low income and low middle income economies. The one of the reason behind this is they do not have access to clean water or safe ways to dispose of human waste. Also, children are most vulnerable to these diseases. It can kill, impair, or permanently disable millions of people every year, and also result in lifelong physical pain and social stigmatization. Next, causes include it is caused by a lot of pathogens, which include viruses, bacteria, protozoas, and parasitic forms. And these diseases are generally they receive less funding for the research and treatment. Hence, they are also considered neglected because they receive very less funding for research and treatment. Some of the NTGs include, they are caused by various protozoa, viruses, bacteria, etc. So, protozoa causes Chagas disease, leishmaniasis, human African trypanosomiasis. Virus include rabies, dengue, chikungunya. Bacteria includes Buruli ulcer, leprosy, trachoma, yaws, and helminth also includes a lot of diseases such as guinea worm, foodborne disease, lymphatic filariasis, soil transmitted helminthiasis, river blindness, etc. So these NTDs affect more than 1 million people globally. Still, there is less investment in case of research and development of such diseases. However, these diseases are preventable and treatable. So WHO has actually come up with a new roadmap for 2021 to 2030, called for 3 strategic shifts to end NTDs. So first, it will ensure that it will focus on measuring process to measuring impact at the same time, and also from disease specific planning and programming to collaborative work across the sector, from externally driven agendas reliant to programs that are country owned and country financed. Next, to talk about the initiatives by the government to curb neglected tropical diseases. So first is National Rabies Control Program. So the program is being reconstructed as Integrated National Rabies Control Program under One Health approach. So it aims to provide vaccination to stray dogs and free vaccines through government hospitals. Next, National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program. So it is a comprehensive program for prevention and control of vector-borne diseases. So vector-borne diseases include malaria, filaria, kala-azar, Japanese encephalitis, dengue, and chikungunya. Next, there is also a National Leprosy Eradication Program. So it was launched with a goal to eliminate leprosy as a public health problem by 2005. Also, you should note that vector-borne diseases include malaria, filaria, kala-azar, Japanese encephalitis, dengue, and chikungunya. A separate question in prelims can come, to select which of the following diseases are vector-borne diseases. So you should go through that as well. Next, we'll talk about Bell of Faith scheme. So it was launched by the Kerala Police, and it aims to provide security to senior citizens staying alone as a so basically it provides security to senior citizens who are staying alone. So what happens is, under this scheme, the police installs a bell in the senior citizens' houses, and the neighbor will get an alert when an alarm when a senior citizen rings the bell during an emergency. So the neighbor can immediately rush to their house or contact the police or the hospital. So basically, the significance of this scheme is it will set an example of community participation to ensure the well-being and safety of the elderly people. And also, during the time of coronavirus pandemic, the scheme can be of great support for the senior citizens, as many live in a fear for their health. See, state specific schemes are not really asked in prelims or mains, but they can always be used as an example in the mains answer writing. For example, this Bell of Fate scheme is an example of community participation. So like that. So you should not completely ignore state specific schemes, because some of the innovative schemes can be used as an examples in the mains answer writing. Next, we'll discuss about negative import list for defense. So recently the Defense Ministry has notified the second negative import list. So this import list concept was introduced in August 2020. This negative list essentially means that the armed forces will only procure such items from the domestic manufacturers. Here armed forces include Army, Navy and Air Force. So this the armed forces will procure the defense equipments which are listed in this negative list only from domestic manufacturers. These manufacturers could include private sector players or defense public sector undertakings. So the Defense Ministry has notified the second negative import list also. There was a first list which included 108 items, and the second list has added further, and the list has increased to 209. And this negative import list is now is also renamed as positive Indianization list. So as the name suggests, it is actually focusing on increasing the domestic production of defense equipment. So hence the name positive Indianization list. So the list comprises of complex systems, sensors, simulators, weapons and ammunitions like helicopters, next generation coverts, airborne early warning and control systems, tank engines. So implications include, it will recognize the potential of local defense industry. Also it will provide impetus to domestic research and development. It will attract fresh investment into technology and manufacturing capabilities. It will provide a opportunity for startups as well. So talking about the background and the reason behind coming up with such negative lists. So as per the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, which is also called SIPRI in short form. So India has been the second largest importer between 2014 and 2019 with $16.7 million worth of imports during that period. So India was recorded as the second largest importer of defense equipment between 2014 and 2019. So the government wanted to reduce the dependence on imported items in defense and also give a shot in the arm to domestic defense manufacturing industries. And by denying the possibility of importing the items on the negative list, the domestic industry is actually given an opportunity to set up and manufacture them for the needs of the forces. So sometimes denying a possibility can also be considered as an opportunity. So today's various topics actually included a lot of points for mains answer writing of in related topics. So you're requested to go through it and form your answers on the similar lines. So all for today, guys. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.